The redundancy principle states that you should explain visuals with words in audio or text, but not both at the same time. In general, what this means is that if you have a graphic that is audio narrated, you should not have on-screen text also. This is an extension to the modality principle that states you should present words as audio narration rather than on-screen text. Since we have established this, it makes even less sense to add text along with an audio narration when using graphics. However, there are some exceptions that exist. Let's take a look at the two major uses of the redundancy principle. The redundancy principle states not to add on-screen text to audio narrated graphics. You should not include on-screen text when you have audio narration on a slide with graphics. What happens is that the learner uses precious processing power trying to read the text, study the graphic, and listen to the audio. If the learner is paying more attention to the text instead of the graphic, the connections you want the learner to make between the graphic and the narration are not reinforced. New schemas then are harder to develop because these associations have not been established. Let's look at some misconceptions. There is a misconception among learning theorists as to learning styles, especially the visual learner. On the face of it, it might make sense to include on-screen text with audio narration if a person is more of, quote, a visual learner. However, this contradicts the redundancy principle that has been researched and has a high degree of predictability. We now know this by our study of the dual channel method of taking in and processing sight and sound. It is more important to create new schemas, so it is best to have word in either audio or text and graphics. The redundancy principle states that you should not have all three at the same time. The redundancy principle does not actually contradict the visual learner. It just states that the visual aid should incorporate audio narration and not on-screen text. Let's look at some of the exceptions to the rule. Consider adding on-screen text to narration in special situations. There are special situations where on-screen text and audio narration is justified. If you have no picture, you can repeat the text as audio narration. The user must be given ample opportunity to process the picture with the text. This is especially true when it is self-paced or paced slowly, or if the user is not a native speaker or the verbal material is very long or complex. Only a few selected keywords are presented along the audio with narration. This is the technique I use quite often: a graphic, a short phrase, and the audio narration. In conclusion, in general, do not use all three medias, on-screen text, audio narration, and graphics at the same time. The exceptions are when you have no associated graphic, the printed words are unobtrusive, or you're using the printed words to signal where to look on the screen. The idea is not to take away processing power or sensor working memory by following the redundancy principle.